All right, so in our previous video, we talked about a fictitious company, probably in the digital marketing or the information space, that has $4 million in revenue with $2,000 as their lifetime customer value. And we determined, based upon some math in which we went through all their individual refunds, their cost of goods sold, their overhead, and their projected profit margin, that they could pay $200 to acquire a brand new customer online. Now, that $200 was largely the result of all these other costs, minus refunds, minus cost of goods sold, minus overhead, minus predicted profit, would then equal customer acquisition cost. Now, in this example, we used our projected profit margin as 30%, which is a healthy net operating income, also known as EBITDA, net profit, whatever you want to call it. It's basically what you have left over after you spend everything. That customer acquisition cost is a factor in determining what the projected profitability or the desired profitability is for the business. What do I mean by that? Well, to come to this $200 number, we plugged in a projected profit of 30%. Now, as this business scales and grows, let's say their 2-year goal is to get to $8 million in revenue. Most businesses are going to have a level of challenge, both internally as well as externally, getting to that level. 2 years doubling a business is awfully aggressive growth. But for sake of argument, let's just use this as our example here. Now, one of the things that we've noticed with businesses that we've worked with is those that are hyper growth or hyper aggressive with their growth goals tend to lower expectations on profitability in order to get to that next level of scale. Now, if this business kept its customer acquisition cost at $200, chances are they'd have a very hard time getting to $8 million in revenue. So what we found most businesses do is that when they're determining all their math based upon long-term value of customer, like how much their COGS are, what their overhead is, what the refund rates are, one of the things that varies the most as you scale is CAC. As a general rule, the more you spend on paid media, the higher your customer acquisition cost is. So those businesses that understand this and accept a lower profitability goal, instead of maybe 30% in this case, maybe this business will now accept a 25% net operating income or net profit, which then allows this business to grow because now with a lower net profitability goal, you can then increase what your allowable customer acquisition cost is. And in this case, it's now gone up from 200 to 300. Now you say, well, that doesn't work. I've got lower profitability, I'm more revenue, but I'm probably making less money. Well, in fact, you're actually not. And this is what businesses that really scale understand. As long as you start altering what your profitability goal is, even if it might be a slightly smaller percentage of your overall revenue, what you actually keep in the end is greater. So in our case here, this business scales from $4 million to $8 million at a 25% profit, a $300 cost per acquisition. They are now a $2 million profit company, a far cry from 1.2 million. So this is one of the detriments that we see to scale all the time, is that customers continue to use the same profitability goals as they double or triple in size. And as a result of that, they limit their own growth. So if you can accept a lower profitability, you end up in many cases actually making more money. And this is what gets lost oftentimes in these types of calculations. Now let's take it a step further. Let's say this business wants to then grow within 5 years up to $12 million in revenue. Another pretty aggressive goal. Here now it's an 8-figure company. Can they expect a net operating income goal of 25%? Well, chances are their customer acquisition cost is going to continue to rise. So they have to adjust their internal net profitability goals. And maybe they set the goal, and we've seen a number of customers actually do this exact math, is that perhaps they set a net profitability goal of 20%. So that means as they increase their media buying spend, they can now pay $400, all things being equal, to acquire a customer. And even though this is 20% profitability, much lower than 30%, on paper it doesn't look maybe quite as good, but in real dollars, we're actually talking about a very large increase of $400,000 in profitability. This now becomes a $2.4 million net operating income business at the higher level of revenue. So if you look at your customer acquisition cost as just a part of the overall whole, with profitability as the one thing, the one lever that you can change and you can adjust as you scale and grow, you will be able to scale your business. Because as we found out as a high volume social media marketing and advertising agency, as you continue to spend more money on social, customer acquisition costs do increase. You're going into new markets that might be more challenging for you to reach. Your messaging has to be really dead on, but unless you do some of the math, you might not be able to get to the levels of growth that your company wants. So hopefully you found this video helpful. Like, subscribe, and share. Questions, comments, concerns, confessions, put them in the comments section below. We'd love to know what you think, and make sure that you do follow us so you don't miss the next video. All brought to you by Tier 11, your guide to acquiring new customers online and enhancing their long-term value, because we believe every business deserves to be wildly successful.